Welcome to This Explainer. Building a saltwater reef right in your own living room, it's honestly one of the most deeply rewarding things you can do. Think about it. You're literally building a living, breathing marine ecosystem completely from scratch. But if we're being real, when you're just starting out in the hobby, it's incredibly easy to stumble into some super common, highly preventable traps. So today, we're going to navigate around the 10 biggest mistakes new reef keepers make and exactly how you can avoid them.
We've all been there, right? That learning curve can definitely feel steep at first. It's so easy to get super eager and just want beautiful fish swimming around immediately. But here's the reality. Tiny shifts in things like salinity, temperature, and nutrients, they can totally cascade into massive algae blooms or severely stressed animals. Small missteps early on quickly snowball into massive headaches down the line. Okay, let's dive into this.
Now, rather than just giving you some random countdown, we've structured this survival guide into 4 logical, chronological pillars of ecosystem building. We're looking at building a strong foundation, mastering your water chemistry, balancing livestock and nutrients, and finally, maintenance, mindset, and stability.
Let's kick things off with Phase 1, building a strong foundation. This is absolutely crucial because we have to remember we're establishing the invisible infrastructure of a living biological system, not just setting up a pretty glass box decoration.
Skipping or rushing the nitrogen cycle? Yeah, that is arguably the most expensive error a beginner can make. You absolutely cannot move livestock into a tank before it's fully cycled. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why. Those beneficial bacteria must establish themselves to convert toxic ammonia into nitrite and then process that into safe nitrate. Without that biological foundation, your animals are going to suffer rapidly, even if your water looks totally crystal clear.
Moving right along, another foundational mistake is ignoring your flow and dead spots. We really need to redefine water flow in our heads. It's not just simple movement, it is an essential life support mechanic. Corals rely on this vital circulation to keep detritus from gathering in dead zones. If you've got poor circulation, debris just sits there and builds up, and over time your coral tissue will literally decline. You've got to watch how water actively moves through your entire reef structure.
Then, of course, there's lighting. A super common beginner trap is choosing fixtures based purely on raw wattage or, whatever brand happens to be trending on the forums. But proper lighting, that's all about coverage, spectrum, and the very specific needs of your corals. Lighting intensity drops off significantly across the tank, so if you place a high-demand coral too far from the brightest zone, it's going to struggle, even if the whole tank looks perfectly bright to your eyes.
That brings us to Phase 2, mastering your water chemistry. This is where we move from the physical foundation to those invisible chemical factors that literally dictate whether your tank thrives or crashes.
Here's the thing. Reefs absolutely do not tolerate guesswork. So the crucial point is you cannot just eyeball your tank or randomly check the temperature and call it a day. Parameters like your ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, alkalinity, calcium, and salinity, they require consistent, dedicated testing. Doing this helps you catch swings early, long before they show up as bleached corals or persistent tissue loss.
And, this strict approach to chemistry applies directly to the salt itself. Mixing salt incorrectly is a massive mistake. Rushed mixing creates dangerous, uneven salinity. You have to let the salt fully dissolve with proper circulation and just give it time. Use the right tools like a trusty refractometer and critically, check your measurements again after the water has stabilized. A little patience right here prevents major systemic shocks to your tank.
Okay, let's talk about algae. Underestimating it is incredibly common, but I want you to start thinking like a detective here. We need to reframe algae from just being a frustrating visual nuisance into what it actually is, a blaring alarm bell. Algae is a symptom. It points to a nutrient imbalance, weak export, or maybe a feeding mismatch. So don't just react by furiously scrubbing it off the glass or dumping in chemicals. Investigate. Find and address the root cause of that nutrient spike.
On to Phase 3, balancing livestock and nutrients. Now I know this is the fun part, and the temptation to immediately fill your tank with gorgeous fish and corals is strong, but restraint here is absolutely key.
The classic beginner mistake is what I like to call optimistic overfeeding. You want your new fish to be happy, right? So you sprinkle in just a little extra food. But here's the reality. New tanks simply lack the mature microbial communities needed to process all that waste. The veteran strategy is way different. It's all about conservative feeding. You start out light and let your actual nitrate and phosphate readings guide you, rather than your optimism. Overfeeding early on, it just fuels algae and completely overloads a weak biological filter.
Similarly, adding fish and coral on the wrong schedule is a huge trap. Yes, starting with hardy species. Those easy wins is smart. But if you stock too quickly right after your initial cycle ends, you totally overwhelm the developing biology. You've got to pace yourself. A slower stocking schedule dramatically reduces stress on the entire system, and honestly, it gives you the breathing room to learn how your specific tank responds.
That brings us to our final phase, Phase 4, maintenance, mindset, and stability. This part is actually less about the water itself, and much more about your own mental fortitude and the consistent daily routines required to keep everything thriving long-term.
Look, skimping on your routines will absolutely catch up to you. We're talking about the fundamental daily and weekly habits, topping off evaporation with calibrated gear, cleaning out those skimmers, and logging your parameter trends. They might seem like mundane, boring chores, but skipping them means you're going to miss the early warning signs that make corrections super easy. A tiny, unnoticed issue can rapidly become a tank-crashing catastrophe if left unchecked.
Now, it's just human nature. When something looks wrong in the tank, the immediate instinct is to panic react. You turn into a frantic mad scientist, throwing the whole kitchen sink at it. You're doing rapid water changes, dumping in random new additives, tweaking literally every dial on your equipment all at once. It's totally chaotic. But doing the whole shebang makes the real cause impossible to identify. The successful keeper's approach is cool, disciplined diagnosis, slow corrections, consistent monitoring, and above all, patience.
And that leads directly to the single most important number in reef-keeping troubleshooting, 1. When diagnosing an issue, you should only ever change exactly one variable at a time. Seriously, if you alter your lighting, adjust your flow, and change your feeding all on a Tuesday, and then on Thursday your coral suddenly looks better, well, you have absolutely no idea which of those 3 things actually fixed the problem. Change one thing. Review your test results. Wait.
Which basically brings us to the bottom line of this entire explainer. The healthiest reefs usually come from steady habits. Proper cycling, regular testing, cautious stocking, and disciplined maintenance. By putting in the work to build a patient, rock-solid routine early on, you're going to spend significantly less time aggressively chasing problems and far more time just sitting back and enjoying the spectacular living reef you've created.
So, I leave you with this final thought. Are you ready to build your routine? Take this proactive roadmap, embrace the patience required for this incredible hobby, and go build a foundation that will let your home ecosystem absolutely thrive.